32 minutes suspended on the boundary between life and death. A 350-ton steel queen of the skies completely out of control. And a flight crew rewriting the definition of courage. This was not just an accident, it was the most horrifying struggle in the history of world aviation. Japan Airlines Flight 123, when a small mistake from 7 years earlier became a death sentence for 524 people. Join us as we explore the tragedy that claimed the lives of 520 people. Why did it happen? And what miracle allowed 4 people to survive that unimaginable impact? August 12, 1985. Japan was bustling with preparations for the traditional Obon holiday, as millions of people rushed back to their hometowns. Tokyo Haneda International Airport was more lively than ever. Amid that hurried crowd, Japan Airlines Flight JAL 123 was waiting. It was a short domestic flight, only about 1 hour long, connecting Tokyo with Osaka International Airport, Itami, carrying 509 passengers and 15 crew members, a total of 524 lives, each with their own hopes and plans. The iconic aircraft, Boeing 747 SR. The star of the flight was the Boeing 747-100 SR variant, short range, short flight range. It was not just an aircraft, but one of the first queens of the skies ever built. Aircraft type, Boeing 747-146 SR, bearing registration number JA8119. Engines, equipped with 4 engines, powerful. Pratt & Whitney JT9D-7A, a high-bypass turbofan engine type. Thrust of approximately 46,000-48,000 lbf. Advantages: fuel efficient, reduced noise. Used for wide-body aircraft such as the Boeing 747, Airbus A300, early generations. Manufactured in the United States, mainly in East Hartford, Connecticut. Service history: it had served JAL since 1974. With more than 25,000 flight hours and 18,800 takeoff/landing cycles. It was a machine that had proven its durability through many years. The cockpit of JAL 123 was entrusted to an extremely experienced crew. Captain Masami Takahama, 49 years old. He had approximately 12,400 flight hours, was one of JAL's most experienced pilots, and had flown the 747 for more than 4,000 hours. First Officer, Yutaka Sasaki, 39 years old. He had a total of approximately 8,500 flight hours. He already had experience on the 747 and was in the process of advanced training. Flight Engineer, Takaharu Ishizaki, 46 years old. He also had considerable experience, approximately 7,000 hours. And was a technical specialist responsible for monitoring and managing the aircraft systems. It was a perfect crew, a seasoned captain, a promising first officer, and a sharp flight engineer, ready. The passengers aboard JAL 123 were a diverse portrait of Japanese life. Those returning home, most were families, students, and workers returning to their hometowns for the Obon holiday. Obon in Japan is an important traditional festival to honor ancestors, usually held in August, mostly from August 13th to 16th each year. It is a Buddhist observance during which Japanese people believe the spirits of their ancestors return to visit their descendants. Tourists, some foreigners were also on board, including a group of Americans and Italians. A notable special figure, Kyu Sakamoto, a globally famous singer with the hit song Yui o Muita Ruko, known in the West under the stage name Sukiyaki. With the passenger cabin fully occupied, the aircraft doors closed. Everyone fastened their seat belts, looking forward to reunion. They had no idea that, within the solid metal shell, a structural time bomb was quietly waiting for the moment to be triggered. On the afternoon of August 12, 1985, the weather at Tokyo Haneda was quite good, with clear skies and light winds. These were ideal conditions for takeoff. Flight JAL 123 was scheduled as a simple and familiar route, flying southwest across the central Japanese mountain ranges before landing in Osaka. The passenger cabin was filled with the sounds of conversation, children's laughter, and the smooth startup of the Pratt & Whitney JT9D-7A engines. At 1812 Japan Standard Time, the Boeing 747SR, JA8119, received clearance and began taxiing to the runway. The aircraft lifted off smoothly, its nose pointed westward. In the cockpit, Captain Takahama closely monitored the instruments while First Officer Sasaki flew the aircraft to the desired speed and altitude. Everything was proceeding exactly according to procedure. In 1824, the aircraft had reached its cruising altitude of 24,000 feet, approximately 7,300 meters, and began to stabilize its flight path. The crew had completed communications with Tokyo Air Traffic Control. In the cabin, flight attendants began serving drinks. The summer sunset streamed through the windows, promising a warm holiday evening awaiting in Osaka. This was the most peaceful moment, when no one could imagine they had only a few minutes left to feel that calm. Just as the aircraft was flying over the Aizu Peninsula, only 12 minutes after takeoff, a loud, terrifying explosion. The sound was metal being torn apart under tremendous pressure. In the passenger cabin, oxygen masks dropped automatically immediately. Thick white mist flooded into the cabin. Hundreds of passengers screamed in panic. In the cockpit, warning lights flashed wildly. The flight controls became useless. Captain Takahama immediately recognized the disaster.
We're experiencing a drop in pressure. The system is malfunctioning.
We've lost pressurization. The system is damaged. It was not just a loss of cabin pressure, but a failure of a critically important component. Flight JAL 123 had entered a 32-minute nightmare, battling a mortally wounded aircraft, becoming a fight for survival between human beings and the laws of physics. The explosion at 1824 was not a simple malfunction. It was a structural destroying blast. The rear pressure bulkhead, a critical dome-shaped structure separating the pressurized cabin from the unpressurized tail, was torn apart. The explosive decompression force pushed a massive stream of compressed air, bursting at high speed, through the rear lavatory area and shredding the tail section of the aircraft. This airflow completely destroyed the vertical stabilizer, the vertical tail, and more horrifyingly, it severed and disabled all 4 hydraulic systems of the 747. With no hydraulic systems remaining, the crew completely lost control of the basic flight control surfaces, the ailerons, elevators, and rudder. The giant aircraft became a heavy, nearly uncontrollable object, moving at the mercy of aerodynamic forces. The explosion and decompression forced Captain Takahama to make a rapid decision. The captain transmitted an emergency signal indicating a mechanical failure.
Does JAL 123 need to make an emergency landing at the nearby U.S. Yokota Air Base?
No, we will still try to control the aircraft and return to Tokyo. For more than the next half hour, the crew made an extraordinary, unprecedented effort to keep the aircraft airborne. They attempted to use differential thrust from the 4 engines. Turn left, increase thrust on the right engines, reduce thrust on the left engines. Turn right, increase thrust on the left engines, reduce thrust on the right engines. Climb, increase thrust on all 4 engines. Despite their exceptional skill, each thrust adjustment only caused the aircraft to change its flight path very slowly and heavily. The aircraft began to exhibit uncontrollable oscillations, a phenomenon known as the phugoid cycle, repeatedly losing altitude, gaining speed, and then climbing excessively. The 747 continuously surged upward and plunged downward, flying in a sine wave pattern across the sky, heading deep into the mountainous region of Gunma. In 1856, the crew struggled to keep the aircraft from plunging into the mountains below. The cockpit voice recorder captured the desperation and extreme professionalism. Heavy breathing, warning alarms, and the captain's scream were heard, "This is the end. Pull up." Finally, the aircraft slammed violently into the steep slope of Mount Takamagara. Thousands of witnesses on the ground saw a massive fireball light up the sky. Marking the tragic end of one of the longest cockpit battles in history. Uncovering the heartbreaking truth. After months of meticulous investigation by the Japan Aircraft Accident Investigation Commission, the truth behind the horrific explosion was revealed, and it did not stem from a random technical failure, but from a human error that occurred many years earlier. The root cause lay in the repair of the aircraft's rear pressure bulkhead, carried out by Boeing technicians in 1978, following a hard landing incident. According to Boeing's procedure, the bulkhead should have been secured with 2 rows of rivets running through a continuous splice plate. However, the technicians used 2 short splice plates instead of 1 long plate, and, critically, they only installed 1 row of rivets through one of the splice plates. This error reduced the fatigue tolerance of the bulkhead to only about 70% of the required level. Over time, through thousands of pressurization cycles, each flight being 1 cycle, metal fatigue cracks gradually developed. The explosion, after 18,800 flight cycles, on August 12, 1985, the crack reached its critical limit, causing the bulkhead to rupture and triggering explosive decompression, destroying the aircraft's tail system. This incident sent a profound shock through the aviation industry, especially for Boeing, as a fundamental error in the repair process could lead to the worst possible tragedy. The JAL 123 disaster is not only a dark chapter in aviation history but also a tragic and permanent reminder of the fragility of life, and the absolute importance of meticulousness, integrity, and responsibility in aviation.